Good evening. May 9th, 2024. Calling the session to order. Roll call.
Kimberly,
Here.
Carmen,
Here.
Lisette, Mary Beth, Sophia, Catalina. We have quorum.
Thanks. Please stand for the pledge. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Yeah, go ahead.
Second.
Yes, we are amending the agenda. Staff recommend removal of item 5G, and that will be returned to you at another time.
Thank you. Okay, so I move that we approve the agenda as amended.
I'll make a second.
Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Sophia. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes 4+1.
Next on the agenda are public comments. We have one public comment, Christy Gillis, and then write-ins as well.
Push your button.
Better? Okay, thank you very much. Hi, everyone. I'm Christy Gillis. I'm co-president of the Fairlawn View PTO. Tonight, you'll hear updates about Fairlawn View from Principal McVicker. And as a PTO, we would like to express our deep gratitude for the Fairlawn View administration, teachers, and staff. They nurture and teach our children and make school a place that's safe and joyful. These amazing educators are present for our children daily in so many ways. The incredible classroom teachers, Ms. Sherry, Ms. Jenny, Ms. Jeffs, Ms. Kelly, Ms. Rittberger, and Mr. Denault, teach our children everything from learning to read to the first whispers of algebra to how to be respectful and kind to their peers. Ms. Kaya and Mr. Phelps inspire our children with a love of science. My third grader recently asked me to decorate his room with the periodic table. That comes from Fairlawn View. Miss Sandy and Miss Lucy not only keep the office running, but they also apply ice packs and Band-Aids as needed with the greatest kindness and compassion. Miss Carla prepares breakfast and hot lunch, always with a kind word for the students. She's retiring soon after nearly 3 decades of service in CUSD, and we are so grateful for everything that she's done for our children. Mr. Alfonso manages the facilities and greets the students each day with high fives and the assurance that it's almost Friday. Mr. Miguel straightens and cleans overnight so that all is ready for school the next morning. Miss Julia leads our children in games during recess and is helping them shine in the upcoming talent show. Miss Barena and Miss Sari keep the crosswalk safe in the mornings and the playground safe during recess. Miss Christie gives extra support to our kindergarten. Miss Yaneth supports our RSP program and Miss Wexler teaches it. Mr. Aguilar coaches the 4th and 5th graders in PE. Miss Baker opens the library so students can immerse themselves in books. And the students adore their principal, Miss McVicker, because she listens to and supports them. She stands by the entrance each morning, smiling and greeting each student by name as they arrive for school. She's also a fantastic partner to parents and guardians when we need extra support. The poet William Butler Yeats said, "Education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire." Thank you again to the amazing Fairlawn View administration, teachers, and staff for sparking the love of learning in our children. Thank you.
Thank you for speaking tonight, Christy. I have a few write-in comments for tonight. First is from Bryce Stahlstrom, a concerned parent. I am writing to express my deep concern and frustration regarding the ongoing teacher strike and its detrimental effects on the education of our children. As a parent deeply invested in my child's academic development, I cannot overstate the severity of the situation we find ourselves in. It is unacceptable that our children are being deprived of their fundamental right to education due to the inability of the district and the teachers' union to reach a solution. While I understand the complexities involved in labor negotiations, it is imperative that the needs of our students are not overlooked or neglected in the process. The absence of qualified educators in the classroom not only disrupts the learning environment, but also jeopardizes the academic progress and future prospects of our children. Every day lost to this strike represents a missed opportunity for our students to acquire essential knowledge and skills that are crucial for their growth and success. Furthermore, the lack of communication and transparency from the district regarding the status of negotiations and contingency plans exacerbates the anxiety and uncertainty among parents and students alike. We deserve to be kept informed about the steps being taken to address this crisis and mitigate its impact on our children's education. I urge the district administration to prioritize the swift resolution of this dispute and to ensure that our children receive the quality education they deserve without further delay. Our students should not be made to suffer the consequences of adults' inability to find common ground and compromise. Please take immediate action to resolve this matter and restore normalcy to our schools. Our children's future depends on it, and they cannot afford to be collateral damage in this labor dispute. Next is Friends of Fairlawn View PTO. Okay. Then we have, okay. Thank you for the opportunity for the public to share tonight. This letter is written in support of items 4C and 4D in tonight's consent agenda. We hope that tonight the board will vote to approve these two MOUs with the HEAL project, which directly benefit all CUSD elementary age students in grades TK through 3. The HEAL project has operated its intensive garden program for many years at Fairlawn View. Our students have benefited immensely from the hands-on science, nutrition education, and life skills that are taught during these classes. Our students observe how plants grow by tending to plants lovingly grown from seeds that their small hands planted. They learn how to chop, follow a recipe, and cook from scratch. They learn to try new things and hopefully like new foods. They learn to observe and appreciate the smallest of creatures that help our gardens grow. The Friends of Fairlawn View PTO would like to thank the board and district for providing this experience to our children over the past few years. Thank you for adding the field trips to Heel Farm for our youngest students this school year. And we hope tonight you will approve this agenda item so that in the coming years, hundreds of more children will have the opportunity to learn and grow through these programs as well. And then we have one comment that was originally for 5G, but I'll go on and read it for public comment since it was pulled from the agenda. This is in regard to approval of $3 million for a central kitchen and new trainers facilities. Last time this was before the board, it was an agreement just to obtain the drawings at a cost of approximately $250,000, if my memory is correct. I cannot confirm this number as it was not on the presentation at that time. There was no consensus that the construction should be done and designs were not available for review. As part of public comment, I had asked for a business plan to demonstrate this project when completed to save the district money. This business plan should include the cost of transporting food to the various sites, if specialized vehicles or containers are needed, and cost of fuel or electricity and the cost of drivers, in addition to the cost of purchasing and preparing food. I do not see the requested business plan associated with the presentation, in addition to the reference to CTE and careers in sports medicine is misleading to the public. Careers as athletic trainers still require education beyond high school, and CUSD is not capable of providing training in medicine. If the requirements for the patient care CTE were followed, there would be an additional burden on the funding of education in this district, as specific instructions and trained teachers would be needed to meet the requirements. This district does not need to be saddled with more costs from this administration when it cannot even pay its current teachers a cost of living increase, and the students have to sit by and watch their teachers leave for jobs elsewhere. I strongly implore the board to take a stand and stop any additional projects like this that does not have written proof that it will save the district money in the long run. And this was, I'm sorry, I forgot the name, Jesse Schick. And just as a reminder, that was pulled from tonight's agenda. Next on the agenda are employee organization reports. Do we have the CTUA representative?
I'm out of practice. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sean Reardon, and I'll be addressing the board as a representative of the Cabrillo Unified Teachers Association. The CTUA is happy to welcome Amberly Alva as our new superintendent. Teachers and counselors are naturally optimistic people, and we're hopeful that our new superintendent will bring positive dialogue, positive change, focused on restoring productive dialogue in the bargaining practice. Positive dialogue often leads to agreement. CUSD needs to reassess its budgeting and negotiation practices to put the students of Cabrillo Unified School District to the forefront of these considerations. Members of the school board and the new superintendent need look no further than the LCAP document to find the district's own belief that it is the utmost priority to attract and retain highly qualified teachers and counselors. As we are in the third consecutive bargaining cycle that has gone to mediation, and we are now a week away from the penultimate bargaining step of fact-finding, it is clear that this LCAP goal has not been met. Reassess priorities and redesignate restricted funds as needed to serve the students of CUSD. Members of the Cabrillo Unified Teachers Association believe that students are what matters most, and we have a vision that students feel respected and engaged because they know they have respected and qualified teachers. That students are happy to come to school because they are inspired by the compassion and expertise of the school district. That students come to school because they know that they are worthy of the monetary commitment it takes to hire teachers, counselors, and the support staff needed to create effective, respectful, and safe school communities. Will the members of the board and district management align their priorities to put students first? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sean. CSEA representatives? Not tonight? Okay, board member reports.
I can go. I might have been over at UC Berkeley this afternoon and picked up a little something for Catalina, because I think this is their last meeting unless you want to come here during your summer break in June twice. So we got you a little something, and I'm so excited. I was so excited being over there for a little bit today and like seeing all the students, and they're all so nice and happy, and it's such a fun place. So I hope you enjoy it, and we got you a little something. Will you show us? And thank you for your input and all your time you spent here and trying to be a liaison. So got a little cup. And I have no idea what to buy for someone your age. I'm so out of it, so I had to go for help. Some girl helped me, and she was so nice. She was trying it on, and I was like, oh yeah, that's cute. So anyway, I had to go for help, so if it's not right, no, it's perfect. Thank you. I have a gift receipt too, so you can return it.
I will add to that and just, well, I guess we were making our board comments, so we can, oh, I'm sorry. I'll make it to my board, during my board comment.
Are you sure? Yeah. Okay. I'll be quick. I just wanted to say a few things besides thanking Catalina for what she's done, and I hope she has fun at Berkeley. I heard, I don't know if this is true, but I heard there are 12 kids from Half Moon Bay High going to Berkeley. Is that, do you know? Turn on your microphone.
There's at least 13 that got in, I think. And then I don't know if there's 12 going, but
Wow.
there's definitely at least 5 of us going.
No
At least
way.
5. There are probably more, but there's a lot of us. got in.
13 got in? Wow.
It was
I heard 4 got into UCLA too, so.
it was a big group. Like there was with the admissions this year was like insane. The way what happened is the way they did it. Like UCs were just like none of it lined up. But a lot of half of my high school students did get into really good schools. So it's really
Wow,
awesome.
that's great. Great. Okay, great. So good luck with that, and always come back if you need anything. We're here if you ever need anything. We'll probably be needing things from you, though. I think in the future you'll be running things. So anyway, I also just wanted to say a little something about receiving the Green Ribbon Award that our district got, and we got gold level this year. So I'm super proud of that, and I'm proud of everyone that did the work. It wasn't me. But I'm proud of all our staff that did that. So it's a very prestigious thing to have, and I want to just call that out. Also, tomorrow night is the Kent Awards. I know a lot of people from our district are going, a few people here, but we received an award in agricultural science and also real-life learning. So I'm looking forward to going to that tomorrow, so that should be fun. And then I also just wanted to bring up, there's a website that I heard about, a friend of Bianca's started it, I guess, but it's ed100.org. And I haven't tried the classes yet, but apparently there's a lot of little classes on there that teach about how school districts work and school funding and all that kind of stuff. So I'd encourage people to check it out, ed100.org. So I've heard great things about it, so I wanted to mention that, and that's all I have. Thank you.
As a Cabrillo parent, I enjoyed seeing my children's band, Cunha band performance last month. That was fantastic, and thank you so much for that. Also, the art show, thank you, Mr. Reardon. That was a beautiful, beautiful show. It was, it featured art from K-12, and it was at the Coastside Gallery. It was, if I could put a slideshow up, it was just lovely, so lovely, and the kids and their faces and all the parents, like, oh, anyway, love that. Also, just wanted to let Dr. McFettridge know we appreciate him very much, all of his hard work the last, wow, really easy and delightful, I mean, years we've been having here on the coast side. So thank you for your support for marginalized people and solar panels and green ribbons, and I just want to say thank you very much. I'll go next. So going back to spring break, which seems like a million years ago now, but it was actually a pretty busy week for me. I had the honor of actually representing our school district and districts from across California and testifying to the State Senate Education Committee in support of Bill SB 1315, which proposes to assess the reporting requirements for school districts with an eye to streamlining those requirements so that we can focus our very limited resources on school districts, on students rather. So I thought that was a pretty clever way, and to try to help schools like us and across the state, because it is an unfortunate truth that a large portion of school district budgets are allocated to activities that are required by law. We like to call those unfunded mandates, and other bureaucratic requirements, which we also don't love, but whether or not they have a direct positive impact on our students. So I think supporting bills like this and others that help us focus on student needs are really important. And later that week, during spring week, I was back up in Sacramento for CSBA's Legislative Committee monthly meeting, so as to again represent Cabrillo Unified and others in guiding CSBA positions on bills pending in this the legislature this session. So that was busy during spring break. It was great after spring break having Dale Scott join our CUSD Budget Committee for a deep dive with community members about the proposed parcel tax replacement and a new bond ballot. The new bond ballot measure that we reviewed here at our board meeting last month. And it's year-end award season, as Mary Beth referred to, so exciting, and just a huge congratulations to our district and all who are involved in getting not only the state green ribbon this year, but we were one of 10 districts to get a green ribbon award at the national level, which is pretty amazing to hear, like Miguel Cardona mentioned, Cabrillo Unified in Half Moon Bay, but that was pretty cool. And also I'm super excited also, nothing to do with being on the committee for SMCSBA, but to be able to have folks join us from the schools, and I think we're gonna have a pretty good contingent there in Foster City tomorrow night to celebrate the Ag Sci program and real life learning. So I'm really looking forward to that. And on that topic, Ag Sci and CTE, I also really enjoyed conversations with folks from here, from CUSD, and our industry partners and others across the county regarding potential expansion opportunities at a countywide CTE meeting facilitated by SMCOE a week or two ago. It's called CTE Works, so it was really great to get together and just think about kind of longer term where we might go with work-based learning. I also had the opportunity to attend the opening night of the CUSD. Thank you again, Mr. Reardon. It's one of my favorite events of the year to go to this show and see the artwork that our students are producing, and this year to have it expanded to Cunha and elementary schools too was really super awesome. It's like a lot of fun stuff this month. I got to join also not one, but two Half Moon Bay High School field trips to Tide Pool. There was a program that Mr. Santoni runs for these trips where he has the biology students go on these trips, but he also has the marine ecology students kind of attend in a mentorship kind of manner. So it's really cool to see that happen, as we see with junior land stewards and other programs where you get kids mixing across age groups in the coast side. I think it's really awesome. Plus, I mean, it's just so cool and amazing to have these places like right outside of our door. On these two trips, we spotted dozens of unique species, including a couple things I have to say. I'm sorry, indulge me, because I'm like a science nerd, but like there's this really cool anemone. It's called a brooding anemone. Mr. Santoni told me about it, where it has like little babies like parked on the perimeter. So it looks like a normal anemone, but it has like little ones around it. And my first lifetime nudibranch that I saw out in public. I almost died. It was like blue and yellow and really bright. And I almost fell in the water trying to see it because it was like under a little ledge of a rock, but it was so cool. So I don't know, that was like another highlight for me, as well as the art show. Interesting and inspirational, a very different way. Last Saturday, the day that was raining all day, I was inside, which was okay because of the rain. But we were with a bunch of folks at the Design Tech School in the Oracle campus in Redwood Shores to join folks in a conversation with SMCOE and others across the county and real innovators in artificial intelligence to start having conversation, what they were calling the start of a conversation around AI in schools in San Mateo County. So it was really great because my brain's been swimming a little bit to try to like even thinking about AI in education, but it was a really good opportunity to start formulating a framework, which is like around what are the considerations that we have to have around things like privacy, bias, tutoring help, kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it'll change 6 months from now, a year from now, but it was helpful to start to think about how we can start to get organized to establish both guardrails and opportunities for working with AI, because it either happens with us or to us, I think is kind of where that train's gonna go. So, yeah. Also, we spent a long day last week in interviews, and so thrilled to have Amber Lee Alva here with us tonight in the audience. She will have huge shoes to fill. I don't think they're that stinky, except that you have been running for a long time. Though she also comes to us with a wealth of experience, a sharp mind, and a big heart, like those shoes that she will be filling. So I'm excited. I think we'll be really in fantastic hands. I know there'll be more to come, the details of transition planning and so on. But I just wanted to extend a warm welcome. So last but not least, as part of School Teacher and Staff Appreciation Month, I spent a good chunk of the last few days driving around the coastside. I managed to get to all 9 of our school sites in the last, I think in the 24-hour period, including Kings Mountain, yay, which is super fun. On behalf of our governance team, it's kind of a tradition. We purchase a personal gift from our governance team and bring it up to each site, and which of course is fun in and of itself, but also I always spend way more time there than, it could literally take me 5 minutes to drop something off, but I usually spend like a good half hour wherever I end up to like just chatting with people and catching up and talking, which is really super nice. So Yes, and congratulations to Catalina. We will miss you, but we look forward to having you run for school board someday if you come back to Half Moon Bay. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. I want to express my appreciation for this board in the last couple of months. This has been a very time-intensive period for us. And it's just the arc of, I think, 3 meetings over 3 weeks or 4 weeks. First, we did a 2-hour retreat reflecting on our best practices and just some reflection on what we have been doing and what we can do better as a group and a body working together. I thought that was really important as we went into the cycle of evaluating resumes and searching for a superintendent. Next came a very long day as we vetted resumes and then spent the time to figure out what's the best way we could engage the public. And so we decided at that point, we were very confident with the screenings that we had done, and we were looking forward towards the actual interviews. But we recognized that when Dr. McFetridge was hired, that there was some people were missed in being able to meet and greet. And so out of a kind of an abundance of inclusion, we really tried to double down and have as many people as possible come through to meet our new superintendent candidates. So last Friday was filled with meeting with CUTA and principals and CSEA and district staff, and my apologies to every staff member that missed their time, and there will be more of that, but I appreciated the PTOs coming out, and it was kind of a nice bookend to what I believe has been truly a very intentional time focused on behalf of this board. I know that those of us who participated in the listening sessions truly felt humbled and honored that teachers came out and shared what was on their hearts and what was important in a superintendent, and the public did as well. And so I just really think that, and for everyone who took the time to fill in and on the online surveys, all of that information was digested, and I believe we really hit the mark in hearing what the community wanted, and that we have, we'll talk about more about it later in the agenda, but the candidate that we invited to meet the public this last Friday. So thank you to my fellow board members and to Lizette, who's not here also. Catalina.
Okay, so I'm going to go through my student board report from each of the schools. So for El Granada, we've had some exciting assemblies recently, including a visit from the Wild Minds on Monday. They shared with us several amazing animals, including an African serval cat and a porcupine. We will begin state testing next week. Fifth graders are preparing for their heritage projects and will exhibit their work at the Heritage Fair on the 24th. At Fairlawn View, modernization efforts at Fairlawn View are right along. Teachers and staff will be boxing up the contents of the B building this month to be moved into the A building this summer. CAF testing begins this week for 3rd through 5th graders, and then Oceans Week will take place towards the end of May with a plethora of workshops and assemblies in celebration of the Fairlawn Islands. Hatch Elementary, a new assistant principal has been hired for the 24-25 school year. The annual Hatch Talent Show will take place on May 17th at 6 p.m. in the MU, and Student Field Day is scheduled for May 22nd. At Kings Mountain, the readathon runs from May 3rd through the 17th. May 8th is Marine Science Institute Rocky Shore Assembly arrives, and the Music Notes Assembly. Next year, we will host a TK/kindergarten class, and then there is May 3rd May 30th, family Chinese dance presentation with our ice cream social. CAS testing takes place May 21st through 31st, and May 31st is our field day. At Cunha, ELA and math CAS testing took place this week. Our final dance will take place on Friday, May 17th. Spring sports, soccer, tennis, wrestling, track, and boys volleyball are coming to an end. Our promotion will be on Wednesday, June 5th at 6 p.m., and the annual Great America 8th grade trip will take place on Thursday, June 6th. At Half Moon Bay High School, a final push towards graduation, large class of about 260, so it is really important to arrive early if you are planning to go, because parking will be at a premium. Staff Appreciation Week this week was made great by the support of our leadership class, PTO, and boosters. CAS makeup testing with math, English, science, and Spanish is continuing. AP testing is happening May 6th right now through 17th. The prom was held at Coconut Grove at Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk, and it was a success. Job fair was a success last Friday. Our FFA students completed last week at Farm Business Management placed in 7th place in the state. Our agriculture, they mentioned this, our agriculture and real life learning programs were both awarded the Kent Award through San Mateo County Office of Education. This was innovative and replicable programs that are being implemented in a school district, county office of education, or in a community college district in the county. At Pilarcitos is looking forward to our Coyote Fest this coming Saturday, May 11th, from 12 to 3 p.m. As part of our ongoing commitment to sustaining innovative and creative programs, this event is our annual fundraiser with food, music, a silent auction, and a raffle. Support from local businesses and community members has been fantastic. Our staff and students thank you in advance and invite you to celebrate with us. It will be at Pilarcitos High School. And then La Costa Adult School. At La Costa Adult School, we would like to send a huge congratulations to Adrian Bacero on becoming the first La Costa Adult School student to earn his high school diploma. His education and hard work have paid off, and we couldn't be prouder of his achievement. We're excited to see the incredible things he will do in the future. Keep reaching for the stars, Adrian. And then I have my other thing. So this is my last school board meeting. After being on the school board for 2 years, being a student board rep, I would like to first thank my fellow school board members for supporting me and helping me grow in this position. Being included here has given me an appreciation for education policy and has exposed me to real-world politics. I truly believe that has impacted my steps into college and future jobs. I would like to thank my fellow students for entrusting me with their voices, experience, and their hopes for this district, which I work to bring here in these meetings. Getting to see real-world work being done in our schools has been the most incredible part of this position. Growing up in Cabrillo, it has instilled such great pride in me to see the younger students going up through the ranks and getting to experience all these incredible things our schools have to offer. I would also like to acknowledge the hard work and sacrifice of the teachers that challenged me to learn. In this district, I think I have become a bilingual student, a community-minded person, and a critical thinker. I learned countless concepts of history, literature, science, math, and more. Thanks to the teachers and staff, I have a solid college plan to attend UC Berkeley and study political science in the fall. I'm prepared. I feel prepared for this thanks to you all. Even the hardest meetings have given me hope that this community is passionate about finding ways to support the teachers, improve mental health resources, and have an inclusive community. I am proud to have been a part of that, and I would like to thank you all for this opportunity. Thank you.
Dr. McFetrich.
Well, it's very difficult always to follow Catalina, who brings it home and makes it real for all of us. I first want to welcome Amberly Alva as my successor. I think the process I saw was very robust, and I think you'll find it welcoming and challenging, but CUSD is lucky to have you, and I've enjoyed this community and been grateful to have learned things here the last 5 years, so welcome to you, Amber. We did have big news about the Green Ribbon. Last year we applied at the state level and won a silver, and then we applied again this year. I want to thank Leticia Batia, Israel Castillo, Matthew Spiegelman for preparing the application, but really the application and the presentations, we've done this at California School Boards Association, American Association of School Administrators, San Mateo County Office of Education last week. When we look at that, it's a testament to the work of students, staff, community partners, families, teachers, district administrators, whether it's solar and almost doubling our solar generation in the last 5 years, gardens on every campus. You'll hear about the HEAL project later, and Amy Bono, I mentioned her in the press release last week. That work has been so important to us, having the gardens on every elementary school campus as opposed to just the ones where the PTOs could afford it. I think it was written into our LCAP. I want to thank Dr. Bhatia for that. I want to thank Dr. Bhatia for working with the Environmental Sustainability Committee, with board members, with Half Moon Bay High School students, with Mr. Santoni leading that really as a spiritual leader there, and also with the Coastside Land Trust. That was a big piece, and the board saying in my first year here, you've got to get an Environmental Sustainability Committee, and then just being able to say, well, there's one at the high school, let's just join it. That has been incredible. The scope sequence that you've worked on, Dr. Bhatia, with that group so that every student has an outdoor education experience and makes learning about nature and the environment really hands-on and meaningful to students, I think is huge and something that will happen going forward. There's just so much, gardens, solar, water. In the presentation we do, I always point out a picture of Pauline's shoe and a water barrel at El Granada. The water barrels at Half Moon Bay High School, these are being piloted. The waste diversion, I always mention Angel Tonetti at the high school, and the pioneering efforts of the high school students to do waste diversion, and how the green teams and the teachers and the students have continued that. The green ribbon is a big deal. We can't apply for it again. You can't apply for it again. You've just won the National Green Achiever Award. That's the top of the line. There is so much more to do. There was discussion about the central kitchen. Look, the central kitchen is a vision of how to improve nutrition, make it local, make it locally sourced, employ our people to do it, don't contract out, don't use as much fuel to come over the hill, and really clean up the cafeteria for high school students so that we could do that. We did hear comments that, hey, we want to know more about the pros and cons, the cost benefit. Wanted to see that plan fleshed out. So we've withdrawn that, but I look forward to the district being able to pull these ideas together in the future. That is something for sustainability that I think would be very useful, especially as we talk to Amy McVicker from Farallon View, we are often talking about all the plastic that's used to contract and bring food in. So, and as far as the career technical education class, the sports medicine, there was an interest in that. Of course, we have a great athletic trainer at the high school, and we've seen that work done elsewhere. And of course, it doesn't prepare you to be, you have to go on for a degree in kinesiology and other things, but it is a great awareness program. UCATG approved model curricula exist for that, but that'll be seen. And I told Andy Boysen and Lisa Longacre and the team up at the high school this week, hey, sometimes you got to go slow to go fast, and we'll see what happens, and I'll watch from afar. I did mention HEAL project and Amy Bono. I'm very indebted to her and grateful to her for her vision and championing for so many years, gardens and gardening education, now field trips for us, the 2 contracts that are on consent, being able to bring this to all our elementary schools, to Sonia Myers at Cunha Middle School, who a couple years ago had this vision of a little Cunha farm from the intermediate school here. And Sonia, I understand, is leaving the district, but she leaves a great facility here that she envisioned and built with students and with grants and with district office maintenance staff. And it's fantastic what she's done. And again, Joseph Santoni, I've mentioned, I have to give him credit. I think he is really an environmental champion. So the team that got us to the green ribbon, it's a big deal. Dr. Bhatia was able to present in Claremont for us to accept the award. I had to stay at the county office to talk about it, but it's a big deal. I want to talk about something here else, surplus property at El Granada. It recently hit, I think Michelle Dragony put it in her post, that she was watching county about sort of zoning that property. To correct the record, we didn't reach out to the county reached out to us, we talked about it, we said, of course we'd like to look at zoning, but of course that would be a board decision. So what was approved was the county being able to do their thing where they're able to say, hey, let's identify some properties and then investigate it. In the future, this board will be provided an opportunity to say, yes, we want it rezoned, or no, we don't want it rezoned. So I just want to correct the record there. Sometimes it's like a game of telephone when you read blogs or even the newspaper or listen to people on the street. The surplus property at El Granada, the county approached us on another topic. We talked about rezoning. We didn't approach them, but we certainly approved their vision, as we did with Half Moon Bay, the city of Half Moon Bay, to create more housing, knowing it is such a need in this county, in this state, for people who need affordable housing. This is an exciting time, testing, end of the school year, preparation for graduation, commencement ceremonies, very exciting time. June also brings us LGBTQ Pride Month, and we will be flying the Pride flag and the Progress flag. The Pride and Progress flags, we'll be flying those in the month of June. You will see that. Sometimes I get phone calls, why are you flying that? It breaks flag code. It doesn't break flag code. And we do have a resolution. That's why we fly banners. That's why we fly flags. We're trying to acknowledge those who we think deserve acknowledgement, and I thank the board for being a progressive vision on that since we've talked about that. The Kent Awards have been brought up. Of course, I had talked to Andy Boysen and the team up there that we really wanted them to nominate Future Farmers of America, Ag Science Program, Cunha Little Farm, and Real Life Learning and the work of Karen Hoffman. That would be not possible without Cabrillo Education Foundation, also fantastic partners. I know that also we have contracts coming up for Boys and Girls Club, for summer school. We've got contracts coming up for ALAS for summer school. Again, I'm just looking back on the 5 years to see how much these partners have given to us and made these things possible, have been huge for us. As I look back, I want to also thank the team and the community and all the stakeholders who've been convened for working on the equity audit, working on a strategic plan, and the efforts to improve and expand on early childhood education, both at full-day kindergarten, expanded transitional kindergarten, and Los Listos, being able to move Los Listos into a beautiful new spot. You know, that hasn't been easy, but I want to thank Dr. Contreras and Dr. Batia, particularly for working with Rosalva Segura, Graciela Krabenschmidt, for that extended learning program that also affords a new after-school program. 9 hours a day of instruction for over 300 students at Hatch has been really incredible. Coastal development permit, I see Brianna LaFontaine is somewhere in the house. There she is, and I think Doug Machado in the house. Thank you for coming to the coastal development permit hearing as family members, as parents. I really appreciated hearing you and your support of that. That has been a long slog for us, but we did get approval of that coastal development permit, preliminary approval. It's still in the hearing stage, but knock on wood, inshallah, God willing, whatever I'm going to say, whoever I need to pray to, that coastal development permit will not face any more resistance, and we will be able to start construction as we have been able to at Fairlawn View. Hatch fencing is near completion. I know that that's caused some kind of concern over the years, but I just want to remind the public the school site council had approved that. Plans have been drawn up, and so we think that is good for the safety. And I think I remember Kathleen Wall 2 years ago, June 2 years ago, saying, after Uvalde, saying, when are we going to fence Hatch? I also will say that in future meetings, you will see a field appraisal. We had a contract approved with Verity Design to look at all the fields in the district, and we have that report, I think, coming in and being reviewed right now, and that will be presented. So we can talk about that, because of course, if you are going to pass a bond and a parcel tax, hopefully you could bring $5 to $10 million to bear for fields, because that would really complete phase 3 of El Granada Fairlawn View and fine-tune Cunha and Half Moon Bay High School and build a field at Hatch. Ironically, I think the report was right on the money that it's about $5 million estimated for those things. Yeah, there's one last thing. I just want to say this is my last board meeting as we welcome Amberly Alva, and I'll look forward to downloading as much as I can, and you'll learn from my mistakes, hopefully. But I really think that I have such gratitude and appreciation for the board here, the community, the staff and students, the families. As difficult a road as it has been through our ups and downs, roller coaster, budget crisis, COVID, I'm very grateful to have had my time here. And I really do appreciate the people who work here and the people who live here. I do think it's a great place to live and raise families. And I do think it has particular challenges. I thank the board for their leadership. I thank my colleagues. I thank the teachers, the support staff, the students, the families, the community partners. You're lucky to have all these people working together toward something. And finally, fact-finding is next Friday. We have been unable to craft an agreement for 2 years because of a lack of money. We'll hear another side that says we haven't prioritized teachers and students. It's a balancing act. I look forward to fact-finding occurring. I've always tried to keep negotiations at the table as much as I can. We have given some updates, and I've heard today in the public comment that we need to give more updates. I want to just say that we've tried to keep that on the negotiations update webpage. I want to thank Bianca Forrester and the negotiations team. I expect and trust that they will continue to bargain in good faith at the table. That is next Friday. And I just want to say it is very challenging for us when we do have staff that aren't here and we are trying to make school run. It's challenging, and I agree with the public speaker that that's tough on kids, and we do want to fix it. And I spent a closed session with the board last night talking about negotiations. I'm not going to divulge all that, but we look forward to going to fact-finding. I think there will be sacrifices ahead. I think there will be cuts ahead. We've seen sacrifices and cuts to date. I think that will be ongoing, but that's ongoing in many districts. San Francisco now looking at getting state receivers. Palo Alto now looking at, I can go on and on and on. This is a thing, and I was talking to Lisa Longacre at Half Moon Bay High School about it just the other day. This is a very challenging time for public education. I feel for all staff in the district because this is a very underpaid district and a very under-resourced district. There is work to do. I want to thank those who have sat on negotiations teams, whether it's Mr. Reardon, Ms. Wall, Mr. Santoni, Mr. Cox, the list goes on and on. Over the years, we have not found an agreement this year, but I hope someday we will find one, and I hope there will be a compromise and we will keep kids in school. Fact-finding does exist as the penultimate step. Then there is a report. Then there can be either unilateral, sort of the district says this, or there could be a strike vote. When we hear about strikes right now, that's not how we would typify it because that's not the step in the process. We have had absences. I've told Peter Tukovsky, I think he's in the room, that I'm not going to speak to that. I'm going to try to be politically correct and circumspect about that. I think it bears mention because I heard the comment. I think people are talking about it. Look on the negotiations update webpage for information. If you want that information, we're going to try to keep negotiations at the table. We are going to continue to hope for an agreement. It will require compromise. It will require sacrifice. I think both parties will have to compromise and sacrifice to be able to reach an agreement. That's the nature of an agreement. And yet, that said, I feel for staff here knowing that they are underpaid. With that, thank you very much for my time here. I am grateful and I appreciate the board and all of you, the whole community, everyone who's reached out to me in the last few weeks. Jenny Walter from Coast Pride, I just got to give her a shout out. The list goes on and on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sean. Next on the agenda is sorry, go ahead. Next is the consent agenda. I want to mention we have one edit. The minutes for April 28th, it was on a Sunday, not a Saturday. So just wanted to reconcile that. And with that observation of an edit, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Rosie?
Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Mary Beth. Kimberly?
Aye.
Carmen?
Aye.
Lizette is absent today. Mary Beth? Sophia?
Aye.
Catalina?
Aye.
Passes 4+1.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is item 5A, Fairlawn View Elementary School presentation.
So we have Principal Amy McVicker here to present an overview of all the amazing things occurring at Fairlawn View. And I do want to say and thank Ms. McVicker because she's continues to do such an amazing job leading our elementary team, and we're very lucky to have you.
Thank you for that introduction, and good evening, everyone. Nice to see some familiar faces, and thank you to Ms. Christy Gillis, one of our amazing co-PTO presidents, for your lovely words in the public comments. Much appreciated. And the feeling is quite mutual for all of our PTO. Good evening, once again. I'm pleased to be able to share this presentation about Fairlawn View Elementary School tonight. Here is a brief overview of the presentation to follow. To the right, you can see our 4th grade class and Ms. Kaya Lindberg, our K-4 science enrichment teacher, adding to their nature journals just outside our outdoor classroom and garden space. As many of you know, Fairlawn View is a small neighborhood school in the coastal community of Montera. We pride ourselves on our school-wide environmental literacy and sustainability focus. We have 155 students enrolled in grades K-5 this year. We are small but mighty. We look forward to welcoming back transitional kindergarten students to Fairlawn View in the fall. We anticipate an increase in student enrollment next year as a direct result of this. Pictured here are a few of our 1st grade students sporting Fairlawn View gear in our outdoor classroom and garden space. For the 2022-2023 school year, Fairlawn View's total enrollment was 164 students. As you can see from California Dashboard's school demographics data shown here, 7.9% of our student population were English learners, 14.6% were socioeconomically disadvantaged, and 4.3% were students with disabilities. With regard to race and/or ethnicity, 18.3% of our students were Hispanic, 11% were of 2 or more races, and 70.7% were white. Students in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades are participating in state testing this week at Fairlawn View, as Catalina mentioned earlier. At this time, I'd like to share some data from last year's California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress, or CASP. It is important to note on this slide that the 2023 CASP data shown here and in following slides is reflective of current 4th, 5th, and 6th grade students' assessment performance. As you can see from California Department of Education's DataQuest infographic here on the left, 75.29% of our then 3rd through 5th graders met or exceeded standard on the English Language Arts Summative Assessment last year, while 24.71% nearly met or did not meet standard. This is in contrast with the state of California's overall percentages of 46.66% who met or exceeded standard, and 53.34% who nearly met or did not meet. On the left, you can see that approximately 67% of our then 3rd through 5th graders met or exceeded standard on the math summative assessment last year, while approximately 33% nearly met or did not meet. This is in contrast again with the state of California's percentages of 34.62% who met or exceeded standard on the math assessment last year, and 65.38% who nearly met or did not meet standard. While Fairlawn View students are still performing well above the California state average, there is an 8% difference between our ELA and math percentages, which suggests that additional supports in math are needed. Students in 5th grade will take the CAST science test next week at Farallon View. As you can see on the left, 55.17% of our 5th graders last year met or exceeded standard on the CAST science assessment, while 44.83% nearly met or did not meet. This is in contrast, again, with the state of California's percentages of 30.18% who met or exceeded on the CAST science assessment last year, and 69.82% who nearly met or did not meet. Here's another way to view our CASP assessment data via an infographic provided by the California dashboard. Compared to our 2022 CASP scores, we increased 15.9 points last year in English language arts and 9.2 points in math. The equity report listed below, because we have small percentages of students who are English learners of 2 or more races, Hispanic, socioeconomically disadvantaged, etc., no other student subgroup data is displayed on the equity report shown there besides white students for privacy purposes. This infographic displays some of our attendance data. During the 2022-2023 school year, 18.3% of our students were chronically absent compared to 24.3% at the state level. This means that 18.3% of our students were absent 10% or more of the instructional days they were enrolled in school. And this was an increase of 3.8% from the year prior at Farallon View. The 2 groups who fall in the orange category are white and Hispanic students. We are extremely fortunate at Farallon View to be able to provide authentic and engaging enrichment opportunities for our students. Kaya Lindberg provides science enrichment classes for K through 4 students once a week, while Brian Feltz provides science instruction for students in 5th grade. We are grateful to Cabrillo Education Foundation and the Farallon View Parent-Teacher Organization for providing these science enrichment classes at our school. Patrick Malabuyo from Music for Minors provides music classes once a week for K through 5 students. PTO parents provide art enrichment through Art in Action for K through 5 students. The HEAL Project provides agricultural education classes to our 2nd and 3rd graders once a week for 26 weeks total. Coastside Land Trust's Junior Land Stewards program is working with our 4th graders to foster environmental literacy and become stewards of our local open spaces. Farallon View Art and Science Enrichment Club was designed for at-promise students, English learners, and students in need of additional social, emotional, or behavioral support in grades 1 through 5. And then also students had the opportunity to participate in San Francisco's Opera Together performance of The Elixir of Love this year, thanks again to our incredibly supportive PTO. While reflecting on our school successes and areas for improvement, I wanted to highlight the following. This year, we increased the number of our school-sponsored family engagement nights. We hosted a family math bingo night, a super family literacy night, and a family outdoor education night. There was overall improvement in our 2023 CASP scores for both ELA and math. I'm hoping there may be a direct correlation between these increases and the fact that we implemented CASP test preparation sessions last year for students in grades 3 through 5 who signed up. This year, we continued with our positive behavioral interventions and supports, or PBIS reboot, by refining and or finalizing our PBIS handbook, behavior flow chart, office referral form, and more. One area in need of improvement would be our students' math achievement. And I'm currently working with our school site council to determine potential math interventions that we can provide at the site level next school year. We are very excited, for the most part, to have our campus under construction this year and next. Next week, representatives from Core Construction, CUTA, CSEA, PTO, and I will be participating in a construction site walkthrough. Phase 1 is set to be completed by the end of July. Our TK through 3 teachers, RSP teacher, and office staff will be moving into the A building after that, just in time for the start of the school year in mid-August. These photos do not reflect the incredible progress that has been made over the course of the past several weeks, as core construction crews have been working overtime and on Saturdays to meet our end of July deadline. Here are a few glimpses into our 2023-2024 school year at Farallon View, a rock, paper, scissors, or Rochambeau relay at recess, examining mealworms, I believe, in Miss Kaya's science class, Whiskers, our sea lion mascot, Dress as your favorite book character day, Mr. Denault's fifth graders planting ingredients for their promotion lunch and salad, our school-wide poster for the Great Kindness Challenge, and our second grade teacher, Mrs. Jeff's Art in Action wall. Thank you for your time. Please enjoy this photo of Farallon View students and Ms. Kaya pausing to enjoy a double rainbow earlier this school year. Are there any questions?
I've got one. Are you doing anything with the chronic absenteeism or any thoughts around that?
So we do send out, as many of our parents can attest, many letters regarding attendance, and that's part of our work with the entire Cabrillo Unified School District to boost attendance rates. We also host meetings as needed with folks who are chronically absent as well. And we are hoping that by increasing family engagement and really making sure that people feel welcome and that students have the social emotional supports they need, that they will feel more inclined to come to school. So yes, we are doing things to address, but there is still work to be done. And this is not a problem that is unique to Farallon View at this time.
I was going to ask, kind of follow up to that point of like, it's kind of like it's a nationwide issue right now around chronic absenteeism. So I was curious, like, kind of how you're approaching, because it does seem to be one of the challenges is that it's like a different root cause for each kid. So like how have you been approaching kind of figuring that out for everybody and kind of addressing those different needs, either at an individual level or even at a programmatic level, to figure out like there's a trend and maybe that warrants changing something in the school programs to address that broader need, at least at Farallon View, and I'm sure Leticia could talk with us for a long time at another time about district-wide, but.
Definitely. So we meet once a month with our COS team, our Coordination of Services team, and we address student needs for various things, whether it be, because they're part of the SST process or student study team process, where we're meeting with teachers and parents to determine if there are any academic interventions we can put into place to increase their academic achievement, or maybe it's a social emotional issue that we're needing to address or a behavioral issue. So maybe we start the check-in, check-out system through our PBIS. We also, it does depend. Some of them are things that are within our control and others are not. If families decide to take vacations during the year, I can send 1,000 school messenger communications, which I've sent a few this year, but ultimately that is the family's decision. So the reasons are very different, but we do try to support families when we can and be understanding when we know that they need to be absent. So.
I'll just thank you for spending time with me. Amy was one of the folks I got to hang out with a little bit on campus this week, and it was great to just catch up with you and to see some of the progress that is being made on the construction side. So thank you to Roger and Jesus and everybody working on that. And to see those really cool, I love those marigold drawings. I think it was Mr. Denault's class also. They were so beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, so detailed and so thoughtful. And you can see they're all like thematically, obviously similar. A marigold's kind of a marigold, but like really you could see they all had a like unique perspective on it. So it was really cool to see too. So it was great to be up on campus. I feel like I haven't been up there as much as I usually am or as I like to be. This was a crazy year, but I think I was there for Continent Day and the construction. You reminded me of that picture. But it was great to be up there and just kind of like peek in on things as they were happening. So, and thank you for spending the time with me.
Thank you for visiting, and you're all welcome anytime. And thank you very much for the plant. It was very sweet.
Hopefully it's easy to take care of.
Not if I'm the one in charge, so I'll leave that to someone who doesn't have a brown thumb.
So I just wanted to follow up on the absenteeism conversation. Are you able to tease out, I know you said it's a lot of different reasons, but knowing that some families are, we still get waves of COVID and illness that take people out a little bit longer than previously, are you able to tease out or notice if that's a part of that group of chronic absenteeism?
So it can be, and I mean, we have letters that go out for excessive, excused absences, which would we put medical in that category. So yes, there are some of those. I don't have the exact percentages as I had the CAS ready, but if you're interested, we can meet and discuss further. But yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's just a follow-up. So we are going to return probably in the fall to give a chronic absenteeism presentation, because I know that Mr. James Barnes and Bianca Forrester are working on improving our district-wide chronic absenteeism rate, and Fairlawn View's data will be included in that as well.
I just want to thank Amy, because I remember 4.5 years ago with the loss of your predecessor there and me pulling you, begging you, yanking you from your other school assignment, which I think was a great loss to that school, particularly because of your bilingualism and just in general, what a great assistant principal you were at Hatch. What a great teacher you were here at Cunha, I understand. And you have done very well these last 4.5 years as a principal and have helped other principals and administrators. And so I just want to thank Amy for that, so thank you.
Thank you for your kind words and for giving me the opportunity, even though I felt I was not ready for it. But it's been an amazing journey, and it's been great.
I think the PTO, as Christy has said very clearly, they're very lucky to have you. We know you're very well placed there. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up is the HEAL Project Overview presentation.
Yeah, another Amy. We have Amy Bono. And I hope I'm not stepping out of bounds, Amy, but I just want to thank you for all of these years of service and being part of this great village that Dr. McFetrich talked about in obtaining green ribbon status, because the HEAL Project was a major component of us receiving this achievement at the federal and state level. And sorry if I step out of bounds, but today I hear is your official last day at Cabrillo Unified, but I do look forward to working with you at Elkis Ranch. Just it's been an honor to work alongside you in our environmental sustainability efforts. Thank you.
Hi, okay. I'm Amy Bono. I'm the Executive Director for the HEAL Project, and we have been in this district since 2005. We started, here, let me move forward. This is gonna be a really long trip. There we go, all right. So our acronym's on the bottom. It's changed over the years. We started in 2005 at Hatch Elementary. A number of parents, teachers, community members were concerned about childhood obesity. So part of the field that was sort of flooded and overgrown was taken over by these parents and other community members to create a garden program. And it started with a Kaiser grant that had the acronym HEAL. So we adopted HEAL initially. We've recently changed the acronym to really fit what we do. So we provide health, environmental, and agricultural literacy. It's science-based, it's NGSS supporting, and it benefits the kids in small group instruction for an hour a week for 26 weeks of the school year. We serve second and third graders. Mission and value is up there. And here is the garden program itself. We call it the Intensive Garden Program, established in 2005. We have gardens now, thanks to the this board, this administration. We now serve at all of the elementary schools in this district. All of the kids benefit from it. When we started in 2005, 2006, it was only Hatch, and by 2007, 8, the standardized test scores had gone up considerably in science because it was prior to all of the other interventions like Amy was talking about that are done by the science specialists. But it had this huge impact on science test scores. Because of that, We, in 2008, won a Kent Award for the garden program. Teachers love it because their classes are broken into 2 sections, so they get small group instruction for a week with each half of their class. And the kids love it. We've heard a lot of anecdotal evidence from parents and teachers. Absenteeism goes down on the day the kids get to go in the garden, so that's always good. We've been doing surveys with kids who have graduated from the program, 4th and 5th graders, and they give us a lot of feedback, like, I love playing with the worms, I love cooking my own food, I love trying new foods. And we're trying to get feedback to be more culturally inclusive, to provide different recipes from different parts of the world, not just ones that are from families that are represented in our district. That's the intensive garden program. So we serve all 2nd and 3rd graders. For the first, I've been here 9 years, so for the first 7 years, it was just the 2 schools whose PTOs can afford it. Because of equity, the district has prioritized letting every kid have it. It has been really impactful to these kids. We got the notice of the Food Systems Alliance for San Mateo County when they identified that they wanted to, with partnership with the health department, they wanted to have a county farm that schools from throughout San Mateo County could go to and learn about where their food comes from and why it matters. So when most people from the coast think about the HEAL project, they think about IGP, the garden program. From people over the hill think about it, it's the San Mateo County School Farm. The data, oh, you can't even read it, but we served over 3,500 kids this year from over the hill, which was a record for us. We're near capacity. So we do get some operational funds from the health department, and we have prioritized letting the Cabrillo district have access to do field trips early in the school year, and that doesn't go against our charter. We're not giving preferential treatment to you guys. It's because you were flexible enough to have all of your TKK and first grade kids come before the field trip season really starts. So it's right after the school year starts. Teachers are still really getting their classroom management down, but it was the time when we had space to allow a single school district to take over the farm, essentially. And we serve, I think, 13 school districts within the county. I'm letting you read your own text. I don't need to read out loud to you. So, scope and sequence of the district. The HEAL project provides now 5 touch points for environmental literacy for the first 5 years of students in the Cabrillo Unified School District. We're very proud of that. Field trips for TK, K, and first. Intensive garden program for 2nd and 3rd grade. We've, 4th grade is Coastal Land Trust, and we've tried to partner with them and start to talk to them about having a better pass-off from the IGP program to their junior land stewards, I think is what it's called. So we're in conversation with them to better have it be a through line throughout the district. Like FFA and IGP were like the 2 little islands for a long time in the district for agriculture, and now it is getting supported at every grade level. One thing I didn't say is, now I'm going too far. Okay, well, we'll stay on this slide. So at the farm, we won a Kent Award in 2010 because of the field trips and camps that we do, and it has to be reproducible, like was mentioned earlier. So we can't really ask every school to have their own farm, but we've had so many schools from throughout the county ask if we could provide the school garden program to their schools, which I don't have the staff to do that. So our compromise was to create the school garden handbook designed for San Mateo County, and it brings all of the lessons we've learned and tweaked, and our curriculum, supplies list, garden and support for teachers, funding ideas, and teachers can download this for free. It's designed for 2nd and 3rd grade, but it's really adaptable to other grade levels pretty easily. And then all we ask in return, teachers have to register for it, but in return, we just want people to evaluate the students and see if there's any change in behavior. So it's a 28-week program as opposed to IGP, because we did add some culture-centered lessons and DEI work, but teachers have the choice of using any of the lessons or all of them as they like. And we piloted it in 2023 with about 24 teachers. Now this school year, we've had over 170 teachers sign up for it, so there's a real need. Everybody wants us to provide the staffing as well. We can't do that, but we do try to give some tips. And the next step is we are going to, similar to the Art in Action way of doing things, we are looking for state grant money to create video lessons for each of the 28 lessons so teachers can have their aide, their parent, room parent, or they themselves can go through the training to be more effective teachers for these pods of lessons. So look forward to that. The School Garden Handbook is our most recent thing that we just rolled out in 2023. Huge impact, we're hoping. As I've already had it stepped on, this is my last week at the district. I am moving to Elkus Ranch, but I have had a lot of appreciation for how supportive the district has been, the board, the administration, the staff, the teachers. It's been a great partnership, and there's a great future, and I will not go far, so there we go. My contact info is on the bottom. Does anyone have any questions? The contact will follow me or go to my associate director, who will be acting director while they search for the replacement ED.
I do want to jump in and say Amy has been an instrumental partner since day one for us on the environmental sustainability work here, and your colleagues, all of them. I mean, I can't name all of them, but Donia, Vibka, Fiona.
This is a test. Keep going.
Anyway, so don't test me here, but it's just been phenomenal, the work that you've done. And I just want to say too, if anybody entered from this side gate, you would see a land acknowledgement for the Ramaytush Ohlone. That started with Amy's work, and I appreciate what you've done for environmental sustainability, environmental literacy in the district and for other districts and in the county, and also your equity approach. So Amy, thank you so much. You've been a fantastic partner here.
I have a technical question. Do you grow turnips? Okay.
Sorry. I think I'm loud everywhere else I go. Oh, sorry, TV. We do grow those little white turnips. So one thing I didn't talk about is we also sell food at the farmer's market. It's mostly grown at the farm. It's also grown at Hatch. Hatch was the first school in California to get certified to grow and sell produce in a certified farmer's market. So at the farmer's market, we let kids who have graduated from the IGP program, we let them come and volunteer with our farmer and sell things like turnips, kale, all the good stuff, radishes. And the beauty of it, it's all these soft skills. It's not every kid who's gone through the program, it's the really passionate kids, and they get to talk to the people who are buying things about like how I like to have kale, or, oh, this is the better type of lettuce than that one. And it's nice, they make change, they really own it and set up the booth and are very helpful for our educators. So short answer, yes, turnips.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
Because you can cook the greens on the top and then you roast those. Oh man, they make a great salad. So no, I'm harvesting daily now for my salads at lunch out of my garden. So.
Perfect. Thank you. Good. You're one of us.
I don't have questions, but I just want to thank you, Amy. I'm going to cry because you've been so, as Sean said, so amazing over these past several years, and what you've done for the HEAL Project, countywide, what you've done for us here, Cabrillo, in partnership with Dr. McFettridge and others here, staff, students, Leticia, everybody. Such a huge part of our vision and our implementation that brought us to the National Green Ribbon Award, or Green Achiever Award, I guess it's what it's called. That breaks that my verbiage. But to just say how much this program adds to the experience of our students. We're not the well-funded district. We're kind of small. We don't have like a big critical mass. So we really do rely on these partnerships to bring experiences to our students that we just don't have like the resources, the critical mass, like economy of scale to do. And you do it you and your team do it with such grace and such creativity, such collaboration that it really, I have seen like what a pleasure it is for the kids to be part of it. And like you said, and it kind of was like my question to Amy earlier about like programmatically when we see things like that, like we should notice that in our data. Farallon View on Wednesdays or whatever days it is that you have your IGP. I forget what day I came and visited Sarah's classroom, whatever day that was. I guess that's the day you have IGP. But it's like so cool, and we can see those things, right? We can kind of like, I think that's where we can get to that challenge of chronic absenteeism at a make it a more programmatic, more tier one, I guess, and essentially that we don't intervene on these challenges like at a tier 3 or a tier 2 level even, but we think about tier 1, wow, the kids get their hands in the dirt, they want to come to school. That's pretty cool, right? And I think that's probably regardless of the age. I see that with the high school kids too, when they're out in the field, they're like, be it tide pooling or wherever they are, it's like real life. And we'll be celebrating some of the work, I know, on that tomorrow night as well, with the Ag Sci program and real life learning. But I just want to thank you to you and your team and all who collaborated, and to just say that is what we do have here. We have an amazing natural landscape, we have an amazing community, and we have amazing partners without which we couldn't do what we do. So thank you.
Well, and
We're going to
also-
miss you, but I'm glad that you're at least going to stay here on the coastline. I guess we're going to be seeing more of Elkis Ranch
I think so.
pretty soon.
Well, and also for being a leader to our county. I mean, you started small and now you're leading a lot of stuff going in this county. So
Thank you. I
it's a
appreciate
big
that.
achievement.
And when you say you, it's really my whole team. Like, I appreciate that my name gets put up there the most, my face is out there the most, but really, my team is phenomenal. If I have a superpower, it's hiring well. I have great people.
Well, I think Gail and Hannah are probably going to be
One's over
pretty
there.
excited. You're going to be having a lot of animals now at Elkis, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I worked at San Francisco Zoo for a couple decades,
Yeah,
so
so-
I'm happy that
you'll
I'm
be
going back
okay
with
with these
vertebrates. We just had bees at the zoo, so now I get vertebrates again.
Yeah, very cool. Thank
And
you.
thank you for coming out to visit. I
was super
invited
fun.
the school board earlier to visit our programs. Didn't work out, so my farm and garden program managers respectively are going to try in the fall so it could coordinate better with your schedules. So thank you for your support. Love you guys.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have the dyslexia plan update.
Hello, everyone. So I have my right and left hand here tonight who will be presenting Martha Ladd and Israel Castillo. And we work as a team, as you can see, and they're here tonight to talk to you as per your previous request around our dyslexia plan and MTSS. Sophia, you talked about tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. So we'll give you an overview of our MTSS and dyslexia plan tonight.
All right, good evening, President Hines, Board, Dr. McFetrich. As Dr. Bhatia explained, we're here to give you an update on our dyslexia plan. I'm Martha Ladd, and this is Israel Castillo. Okay, so we want to just start back about where the dyslexia plan and the need for the dyslexia plan came from. On the Assembly Bill AB 1369 from the statutes of 2015 resulted in the California Department of Education producing guidelines for providing support to students with dyslexia. The CUSD developed our dyslexia plan based on those guidelines, and now this plan is embedded in our multi-tiered system of support framework. So, and then the key components are listed there: universal screening, multi-level support, which is the part of the MTSS framework. We have intervention, and we've been working to make sure that our curriculum is appropriate levels of phonics instruction and handwriting and those types of things to address the different attributes of dyslexia.
So, oops, sorry about that. So we'll start with our universal screener, which is a DIBELS, and this year we're implementing that in grades K through 3rd. That gives us an opportunity to do a quick screener 3 times a year. We've been having a lot of support with our reading specialists, our TOSA leaders, and implementing some data checks. Well, I'll talk more in detail in regards to what that includes. But basically, these screeners are so critical and important because they provide us with information on how to support our students, how to support our tier 1s. There's so much intervention that we can do within our tier 1, and I think a strong tier 1, it provides opportunity for our students to ensure that they enjoy reading at the beginning of their stages, especially in those critical years of K through 3rd grade. So we Our plan is also to increase grade levels. We're looking at funding for next year to be inclusive of grades K through 5th instead of just K through 3rd. We've been getting a lot of support from the county to develop a literacy block, and I'll go in more detail in the next slides. With the data, now that we have data, one of the questions that always comes up is, what do we do with it now? And something that has been critical and very supportive has been the data chats that our instructional leaders have been having, not just with teachers, but also with administration from the district level, with site leaders. I've had an opportunity to join some of the chats. It's very interesting how you start questioning your own teaching, you start learning from one another, and it's basically an opportunity to develop a structure, develop a system. With the literacy block that we're working on developing for the next literacy plan for the next 3 years, that'll be part of the component. Within your literacy, what do you do during that time? There's opportunity to cover phonics, phonemic awareness, the reading, the writing, those critical components that develop a strong reader, a student that enjoys coming to school. That also ties into chronic absenteeism. When you enjoy school, you're going to be at school because the joy and the love for literacy. So it's important that we give them a good head start, and I think that's an opportunity for us to engage and develop these special programs for our students to be successful at school. One of the things that we are wanting to engage in and develop more is the Tier 1 intervention, which is the literacy block. Within that literacy block, it's an opportunity to ensure that all our teachers understand and enjoy our adopted curriculum. Our benchmark Advance Adelante, we were able to provide some professional development. There's so many components, online components, phonics components that we haven't been using as much as we could be using them, but I think it's the opportunity to learn from one another and engage in those specific programs. Once we start using the assessments, we figure out the possibilities. Maybe there is an additional curriculum that is needed, and we do have those supports like the Wilson Foundation for small groups instruction. We have Hegarty, which focuses on phonics and phonemic awareness to target those specific needs based on the data results from the DIBELS. We have Just Words. We have also Lexia, Literally, Fontes and Penel, and so many opportunities to use additional supplemental supports for the students that are in need. But the main target is to target our core adoption curriculum and ensure that we have everybody trained well to take advantage and opportunity for that.
Okay, so of course, when, with the pyramid, why I have to always will mention the pyramid, with the pyramid, probably 75% to 80% of the children in our school should benefit from our strong first instruction. And then about 10 to 15% of students may require additional targeted support, which is typically small group support. And then more intensive support would be that 5% of, 5 to 8% of students who may require more one-on-one support. That intervention pyramid is separate from special education. So, and special education kind of falls outside of that, and that is another, you qualify for special education with a need for specialized academic instruction outside of your general education supports. So we do have reading intervention, which is push in and pull out, sometimes depending on the grade level or the need of the student. We also make use of adaptive technologies, low-tech things like graphic organizers, bookmark trackers, and other visual trackers for students that struggle with the graphic part of following the text. And then we also have some high-tech adaptive technologies like speech-to-text and text-to-speech. And then, of course, Learning Ally, which is an audiobook that has a lot of the books that we use, our core books that we use in the elementary school through high school, and the programs available in elementary through high school. And it's like audiobooks, but they also see the words, and it's all read by a human voice, which manages to maintain engagement for a student on long passages. And then finally, we have part of the frameworks for helping us to keep track of kids, to make sure that students don't fall through the cracks. And the two major frameworks that we use across the district, TK through 12, is our COS teams, our coordination of service teams. And thank you, Amy, for mentioning it in your report. And then our student study teams. We did go through a student study team overhaul where where the process of student study teams, the manual also has active interventions that teachers can do to track if children can make progress over a short period of time with a specific intervention. And then we have our special education process. So if a student is identified with dyslexia, the way that is shown in one of the special education eligibilities is through specific learning disability. And to identify specific learning disability, we use a model called patterns of strength and weakness. And the advantage of using patterns of strength and weakness, whether or not a student qualifies for a disability, is that it helps us identify sort of the learning profile of the child so that it can help us differentiate, individualize, and target interventions for them. So when I participate in IEP meetings and the area of concern was in a learning disability, then the school psychologist will use the patterns of strength and weakness model. And it's very interesting because the recommendations are really targeted to that child's learning profile. So you will always, if you have dyslexia, you will always have dyslexia, but you don't always have to have special education. So when we are able to target those needs on an individual level, like the individual education plan, then a student may not need specialized academic instruction anymore. They may not need to be pulled from class anymore, and they can fully enjoy the general education setting, which has benefits for engagement and prevents stigma and poor feelings about themselves. So I think that this model has really shown a lot of progress and success since we got out of significant disproportionality for over-identifying students with specific learning disability. We have yet to even be targeted for monitoring in the area of SLD for students with, for over-identifying students. So I think a lot of this work that Dr. Bhatia is having us do is really starting to address that. This is our concluding slide. What I wanted to point out here, and I think Mr. Castillo here is doing a great job on really creating an effective cycle of inquiry process. So we do the assessment, there's these data chats, there's the development of a plan, the assessment is done again, the data chats, the readjustments, and going forward. It's really very, very exciting that this productive cycle of inquiry is happening across all the elementary schools in grades K through 3. The universal screening, Dr. Bhatia has been working with Big Lift, that there's a commitment to the implementation of this plan, that there is consistency in administration of this plan, thanks to Dr. Bhatia, Israel, and Rachel Sage, who's also been a good part of this team. And then we've also adopted high-level curriculum that responds to students' needs in the processing areas that are required for reading. There were some questions. I understand Dr. McFetridge said that there were some questions, and so I just wanted, one of them was, can you tell us about the data? We've been using some form of DIBEL since 2019, but the pandemic interrupted that process, and then we went back to what was called Acadience, and then this past year we've had DIBELs. So we don't have a really direct through line from 2019 to now, like we would like to have, but we've been working on getting it. Some of the brief data that we have is that we have seen an increase across all of our grade levels from beginning of the year benchmarks to middle of the year benchmarks. Although our scores our students that are at or above that benchmark is still low. But as you go from grade to grade to grade, it goes higher. So for instance, kindergarten right now is at 26% meeting benchmark, but that's a 10% increase from the beginning of the year. The benchmark in third grade is at 53%, a 3% increase from the beginning of the year. And then when we compare our percentage of change against national averages, our first, second, and third grade outpace the national scores, with third grade nationally going down 2%, and here in Cabrillo, we actually went up 3%. And then the other thing that you wanted us to address was how do we work with students who sneak past us in fifth grade and haven't gotten the support that they needed and are a little bit behind. We hope through all of this intervention and I'm really excited about the fifth grade piece, screening, universal screening through fifth grade. We hope that we would have identified students that are really struggling with the reading process by that time and have either offered a 504 plan or assessed for learning disability by that point. But if they have gotten through our net somehow, we do, the CUNA team also has cost meetings and SSTs, and then we have things like Learning Ally is still there. 504 plans allow for accommodations so that kids can still access their content while they're still learning their reading skills, and that's solid right through to high school. So are there any questions?
Thank you.
Okay. I've got a question. So it sounds like, am I saying this right, that we're doing better at once the kids are identified, helping them find a path forward to get better at reading. Do you think that we're finding more of those kids that were getting through the net before? Do you think we're identifying more dyslexic kids?
I think that with the universal screening, we will see kids that have weaknesses for dyslexia for sure. And then sort of the goal is to address those weaknesses so that it doesn't rise to the level of a disability where they require specialized academic instruction. So again, while you may always have dyslexia or weaknesses in particular processing skills, you can have interventions in the general ed setting that prevent those processing deficits for impacting your ability to access your education. And so that's the excitement that we have, that this first year of this cycle of inquiry was so positive, that teachers were so engaged in the process and so willing to, so engaged in the process and able to start to intervene and have conversations and ask, why is this happening? And so that's what's really exciting. And the opportunity to extend it to fifth grade will mean that we should know who is struggling and why.
No, that's really great. I'm glad that you're starting to see the preliminary results, and I think it's a good point that you raised about like the programs have been kicking off for the last 3, 4, 5 years, kind of hit a wall in 2020, and so now as you're regrouping and starting to see, I think unfortunately that obviously is a lag for everyone, everywhere. So it's like encouraging that you're starting to see some positive results, and we'll just continue to monitor it and see how it goes. But it definitely seems promising, and also with a lot of the changes that we're making with our information technology platforms, where you can actually have an architecture that allows you to connect the dots a little bit better, hopefully in general, not necessarily with dyslexia specifically, but hopefully that will be an assistance as well as we kind of look for early warning signs, because I think that's the value from what I'm hearing from this. Is like when you have programs set up to find the early warning signs that you can treat, sorry, that's like my old life, right? Like support kids through adaptive technologies, like Learning Allies, like an amazing program where, that's better than having like pull out, right? Later when it does qualify as a disability, not only for the student, but just for, sustainability for our school district to be able to have that kind of early intervention, I think is just like with the early education work that you've been doing as well, really important. Will take some years to fully bear the fruit, but keep it up, because I think we're gonna get there. It looks good so far.
Yeah, I think so
Thank you.
I got one more thing. I got a question, just kind of, maybe this is more in general and not so specific to dyslexia, but I hear a lot about pulling out kids, and it seems to me, wouldn't it be better to leave them in and then do extra somewhere or after school, or what's the just general reasoning behind that?
Yeah, with the science of reading, what we're trying to bring into our district with the literacy block, it is recommended that we try to keep the kids in the core areas during an intervention. It has to take place at a different time. But it is suggested that the more you pull out students from their general class, the more they fall behind. So the key is to try to keep them within the class as much as possible.
So then if you do the pullout, when do you do that? Do you do that after school when they're in a wraparound service? Or?
Before school, after school, zero period if there's one that exists. But with the literacy block, there's actually an opportunity within your teaching of 90 minutes. You actually construct your class where you are pulling a small group of 5 after you do your direct instruction, your explicit instruction. So it takes place within the general class. But it's going to take some work and some training. So Dr. Bhatia and I are in the process of working with Rachel Sage to create some professional development to send people to opportunities for this summer.
So the teachers would then take that small group, or Rachel or someone would come in?
It can work both ways.
Either way, okay.
So they would be in the class and it would be kind of working together on what the unit of study or the lesson is. It's just reinforcing those specific needs for each specific group.
Thank you.
And I just want to add, so thank you, Martha and Ishel, that this has been a lot of work, and we are kind of pioneers, Cabrillo Unified, when we're looking at the big lift. There are 7 other schools, and actually, I think a few more got adopted this year because San Mateo County Office of Ed expanded to invite the entire 22 districts to be part of the big lift. And what we're hearing is that we are the only school district that is having 3 data chats with 100% of the teachers, TK through 3rd. And we're the only school district that is officially adopting the science of reading. And actually, there was some policy in the state level where science of reading was going to be adopted across California, but it just got blocked. The bill, yes. But we are adopting the science of reading. We have amazing teachers on special assignment that do believe in the push-in model. And like Ijal was mentioning, we're defining this year the literacy block that will begin 24-25 school year. Part of the literacy block is defining what is core and what are interventions, so that we can make sure that during that intervention block that will not be the majority of the time, might be 20 minutes. Every single child is getting challenged at that level. And at that time, that's where we might have some small groups for enrichment as well as intervention.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear about that science of reading stuff. I mean, I'm no expert, but it sounds like that's pretty important. So I'm glad you're on that.
That's what I was going to double check. So the benchmark Adelante is aligned with science of reading. Okay, I thought so, but I just wanted to check. And what you were referring to previously was a bill that was proposed that got killed not on the premise of anything being wrong. In fact, many people support science of reading, but more that something like that shouldn't be legislated, because in its law that you have to do it, as opposed to allowing the current curriculum processes that we have at the state level, Board of Ed, et cetera, to dictate these is the best practices, this is what you should do, as opposed to like it's ed code, you have to use a particular curriculum, because that opens the floodgates to a lot of other decisions we might not like. So, but good. This is fantastic. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
No, I do want to thank Martha and Israel, and a special shout out to Rachel Sage, who's come up numerous times, who is just a master teacher. So thank you all. Thank you, Dr. Bhatia, for helping lead the work.
Okay. Request for a brief break.
And I have a motion and a second.
Motion.
Kim. Second.
7 minutes.
Second, Sophia?
Yep.
Thanks. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the Cabrillo Unified Teachers Association initial proposals for reopener negotiations 2024-25.
Red is good, okay. Hello, I'm Joseph Santoni. I'm the CUTA bargaining co-chair. As you know, after many months of bargaining, we are currently at impasse in our reopener negotiations for this year's contract. I'm still hopeful that fact-finding will help us come to an agreement regarding health and welfare benefits and compensation. We should have settled this contract months ago, and we should already be negotiating a successor agreement. As you're aware, the CUTA contract ends on June 30th. I'm here today to sunshine articles CUTA will open for our successor contract negotiation. I'm hopeful that we'll be able to come to the table soon after a resolution of our current bargain. We look forward to hearing what articles the district intends to open. I hope that the district will come to the table ready to negotiate in good faith and without unnecessary delays. I'll now read our sunshine letter. Pursuant to Article 23, duration and reopeners of the agreement between the Cabrillo Unified Teachers School District and the Cabrillo Unified Teachers Association, CUTA is invoking Clause 23.2 to institute negotiations for a successor agreement to begin in 2025. Consider this our official sunshine notification. Presently, CUTA would like to open Article 2, compensation, Article 3, health and welfare benefits, Article 4, leaves of absence, Article 5, transfer procedure, Article 6, class size, Article 8, management rights, Article 10, grievance procedure, Article 12, teaching hours, Article 14, safety conditions of employment, Article 16, right to consult, Article 20, professional growth, Article 22, employee management positive working relationships team and power team, Article 23, duration and reopeners. Article 24, disciplinary action. CUTA requests that we schedule a series of bargaining meetings commencing as soon as possible to mutually accommodate the availability of our California Teachers Association representative and the district's representative. So, thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
It is listed as an action item.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have one public comment from Anna Alderkamp. I urge all school board members and superintendent to give the highest priority to repair the broken trust between the teachers and the school board by respecting the teachers for the amazing professionals they are. 2, prioritize teacher pay in all decisions and planning. CUSD has amazing teachers who have gone above and beyond for our students' success and well-being, and they need to be respected as such, both in decision-making and in pay. Thank you.
I have a question, and it's probably for Sean, I guess, or Bianca, I don't know, probably as a start. So the process here for sunshining from the labor partners, so CSEA has the option to do that as well this time?
As I understand it, both bargaining units have that option to
Okay.
sunshine articles, and then the district will do same.
Okay, that was my second question. So then the next step would be the district would respond to the sunshine, but the sunshine comes from the labor partner first. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Typically, or?
Typically, it can happen at the same time.
Okay,
One
there's
can go first.
flexibility, but typically it's like that.
But it is not uncommon for bargaining units to present at a board meeting and sort of sunshine what they're interested. And with this, you had, I don't know, 10, 12, many items they want to open for next year's successor agreement.
That was going to be my second question is there like generally a number, like a limit to the number of items? Or is it just more open and like traditionally it's a certain number? I wasn't sure if there were like any rules around that.
I don't know if I could say traditionally, but typically in recent years, we've seen a handful of articles opened. This was, I stopped taking notes because it was so many articles open. So I think what will happen is the chief negotiator, Bianca Forrester, our director of pupil and personnel services, and our negotiations team will look at what was presented tonight and do their legal review and then respond in kind, and then open at some point for the district. As Mr. Santoni has mentioned, this contract is valid until the end of this school year. I think actually it says June 30 to 2024, I think is what Joseph quoted, and that's what I've seen on the cover. I think it's an important point to remind people of. People often ask me, hey, teachers are working without a contract. No, we're coming to the end of a contract agreement. This is a lot of lift for going on, but this is standard. You get the interest from the bargaining units and what they want to talk about. Sometimes these are articles or changes that can be made very quickly. But yeah, it'll be up to your chief negotiator, your new superintendent, to sort of discuss and talk about with you also what you'll want to reopen.
And then to your point about the contract duration time, like when a contract, like contracts are written to have to have a effective start date and end date, but once that end date passes, if nothing new is negotiated, that contract is still legally in place. Is that correct? Like, it's not like there's no rules. Like, I mean, sometimes people hear no contract and they think there's like nothing in place.
That's right. There are often districts that come out of contract, their contracts go stale, they lapse, and you still operate under the terms of that contract, even as you're negotiating.
So we can assume that like those terms will be in effect until renegotiated. Sort of.
Yeah, I mean, you don't. It's not that there's all the rules are off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just my question, because sometimes I've gotten questions that kind of suggest like there's no rules, and I just wanted to make sure that.
No, and just as a matter of course, I think CUTA, from what you're signaling, Mr. Santoni, has an interest in opening all these articles, and I see that as you got to talk about what's being talked about, and if members want to talk about empower management rights, et cetera, with the beginning of a new superintendent to open all these things, and I also agree and echo and hear Joseph echoing my comments, which is I think we're all hopeful that there'll be a compromise and some kind of agreement, but I don't think there's any problem with opening up so many articles necessarily. It can be a slog to get through certain articles, but some articles can be done very quickly.
Yeah.
And so the teams have shown in the past, and certainly during COVID, for example, I will say that we often negotiated on MOUs and things that were totally outside the contract, and had to bring that to the board and had to negotiate that. So no, we'll take this in. Now the board should, I think, we would recommend take action, approve this, and we'll have the negotiations team and legal come up with a response after they do contractual review, and they'll have a response, and then they'll bring you the district side of it.
Okay, great. Yeah, and just to be clear, my questions were procedure only. There weren't any kind of directional.
Oh, no, I totally get it.
Just to be like, make sure I understand the rules of how it works.
No, and that's totally, that was a processual kind of inquiry, which I appreciate. And I also will say that for the matter of, and I often play this part on television where it's like I ask a dumb question or I answer a question I already know the answer to, and I'm not saying your question's dumb. I mean, I'm saying I was dumb to make that suggestion. What I will say is, just to play this part on television, I want the public to know that we met last night with the board to talk about negotiations. I won't talk about that. There is a process under the Safe Harbor provision of the Brown Act by which staff can meet with the board to talk about parameters of negotiation, authorize offers, and to make sure that we're doing what you want us to do.
Are there any other questions or comments? If there are none, Rosie?
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, please say no. Passes 4+1.
Thank you.
And thank you for that, Mr. Santoni. And resolution E 142024, I'll ask Bianca Forrester to come present on this. Item E, the resolution about the non-reemployment of certificated employees. Can you just explain what the resolution says basically for the public?
There we go. Sorry. Good evening, Superintendent McGuthridge, and good evening, members of the board, and welcome to Superintendent Alva and Dr. Bhatia, Pleasure to see you, and I think Israel and folks are gone, but, so the resolution, the board resolution there just identifies the particular kind of services that the district has identified for reductions in alignment with the fiscal stabilization plan, which is a living document that Dr. Contreras has been working with the Budget Advisory Committee to develop and our County Office of Ed partners. And so in alignment with that, we had to make some reductions in force. So it just identifies the particular kinds of service, and then underneath that, you'll see the actual impact on staff. So the actual impact on our staff is a reduction of 0.4 FTE because of attrition and movement, and there's some movement, for example, to categorical fundings altogether for one of the identified reductions in force there that Dr. Bhatia was able to ensure that we have more ELD support. We've heard that more ELD support is needed at Cunha Intermediate School. And so Dr. Bhatia was able to identify some funds and make some shifts there. So through journaling, we are able to get the reduction in force made without having to impact as many FTE as we had originally planned. So, thank you.
Any questions, comments? Do I have a motion to approve?
Well, before you do that, I'll make a comment. I just want to thank Bianca Forster for working so closely with Dr. Bhatia, Dr. Contreras, Jennifer Marsh, and others to figure out how to lessen this impact. So thank you.
Yeah, I did really want to thank you, Sean, because I was actually going to say that because I really appreciate the team approach. I know, like Leticia and I spent long hours in her office looking at possibilities, and we really do recognize that when we are reducing particular kind of services, there are real impacts in our community, and all of us have worked very hard to minimize those impacts, and we really do value our staff so much, and I appreciate getting to work so closely with Jesus and Leticia around this work. It's been a team effort all the way, so thank you.
Yeah, I was just going to thank you and just point out, like, this is really amazing because a lot of school districts right now are like suffering with staggering, like, I mean, I hear numbers and it's like, I don't even understand how you could lose that many positions in a school district and still function. So to be able to journal, or I assume there's some attrition here as well.
Yes, there's
not
absolutely
a lot because the
attrition.
number is only 3.2 anyway, but the fact that you had like a pretty conservative number to begin with, and then we're able to get it down to like 0.2 off of 2 individual employees is amazing. That's less than half of a FTE, which right now at this point in time, like we're hearing from like, I think I've stopped keeping track after like 40 districts across the state being in like major media for the large numbers of staff that they've been cutting. Is like a really amazing. So thank you to everybody for the teamwork that it took to make that happen.
I think I'd be remiss not to mention Andy Boyson up at the high school, and Deanna Tower and Dave Jones. The work that they've been doing on the master schedule with the new SIS, the power school system, has been extraordinary. There were some 11th hour changes to that PKS resolution, and I thank my colleague Rosie Acosta for reposting the board agenda. At that 11th hour, it was unfortunate that it had to go that way, but the truth is that they've been in the heat of developing that master schedule with an eye towards minimizing cuts in every area that they possibly can, because we do understand, Catalina, and congratulations, roll on you Bears. The cuts impact you, and they impact your friends, and they impact the teachers and their colleagues, and we understand that. So it was a lot of work. And then at Cunha, also working with Victor Guzman Contreras, Litza May Dunaway, and the principal there, Jeff Clinton. So it really was a larger team effort across the board. And I really appreciate the work of all of our practitioners in the field, and also the elementary school principals, because initially there were identified reductions in particular kind of service at the elementary FTE. And I was really pleased to be able to rescind those notices due to student enrollment and staffing needs, and again, some of attrition, and so we're still realizing the savings. but just kind of changing conditions and changing patterns. So again, thank you all so much. Have a nice night.
Rosie?
Yeah, I need a motion and a second.
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Thank you, Sophia. Kimberly,
Aye.
Carmen,
Aye.
Lisette is absent. Mary Beth,
Aye.
Sophia,
Aye.
Catalina,
Aye.
passes 4+1.
Thank you, Rosie. Next is item 5F, CUSD fiscal update.
Good evening, President Hines and board members. What a difference a year makes. A year ago, I was in front of you bringing to you the third interim, the required third interim. And as a result of our journey to come into the black, we have this fiscal update that we need to bring to the board. It's a great idea to bring to the board every month. Today, I want to remind you that our fiscal solvency that we're looking at, we continue focused, as Bianca referred to, in reducing the deficit spending and staffing according to the number of students we served. That we look at our declining enrollment and budget and staff accordingly. And that, as Bianca said, that we look at optimizing any attrition from our schools, that we make sure that the impact is as little as we possibly can make it, and then we continue to identify savings and reductions and put them onto the fiscal stabilization plan so that we can then in turn budget going forward and making sure that all of those things make sense and we continue to have that living document that will help us make sure that we sustain our path towards solvency. Right now, we're about to adopt a budget. That's where we are right now. In blue, that's where we are in this moment, going towards the development of a 24-25 budget. We don't need this year. We don't need to bring to you a third interim. We don't need to bring to you a third interim because our second interim was certified as positive. Just as a reminder, the third interim of last year was certified as negative. So this time, we had a second interim certified as positive, and we are looking forward to bringing to you in June a budget for adoption. Things that we are doing and that we're tuning up. You've heard me say that we needed to true up a lot of the assumptions that we had, and our P2 report indicates that we are about $1 million less. For the 23-24 school year, we get about $1 million less than we were expecting, about $1,069,000 altogether, compared with what we budgeted at P1 in November, and the actual true up in April, a little over $1 million less. That we were expecting $3.8 million of supplemental taxes, and that landed on a $2.7 million instead. We, however, continue to be on the basic 8 status, and one thing that I want to remind the board is that basic 8 districts do not get the COLA, but they do not get, the state does not turn around to basic 8 district and says, here is your COLA. So that COLA of over 8% that has been brought forward as pass on the COLA in a basic aid district, we just get the P1, the P2, the P2 and then we do the calculations at like the rest of the school districts. We do the calculations on the FICMAT calculator, which determines whether we are basic aid or not. So I just wanted to clarify that. And that we only receive that P2 tax revenue, that it doesn't come, we learned about it in April, mid-April, but it will come in sometime in June or July, sometime in the summer. So more of that. As we continue to look into what is that we are going to be putting into our living document, our fiscal stabilization plan, we also learn of other things that we need to take care of. So we have the schools excess liability fund that to us, it means about $151,000. It's a cost that we did not have knowledge of, that now we do, that goes into a true-up, making sure that we put that in there. And that comes to us as a result of the AB 218, which is, has to do with the civil lawsuits that claim regarding sexual abuse. So as part of the San Mateo County Schools Insurance Group, we come together and said, okay, Cabrillo, your share is $151K. So we put that in the budget now. Now the May revised, I think this English learner needed another D there. May revised is coming up to us, and then those will be the assumptions that we are going to be finalizing into the budget that we're going to be bringing to you in June for adoption. So that, stay tuned. Some of you are going to be attending some of those workshops to see what the adoptions are going to be for the May revised, and those will go into the budget that we're going to be bringing to you. Of course, we continue our relationship with the San Mateo County Office of Education, and they continue to help us throughout the budget development. Now, a reminder that every single budget and financial updates that we bring to the board, those are anchored on assumptions and the best available information that we have at the time. So anytime that we bring to the board, this is what we might be looking like in current year and the 2 years out. It's based on those assumptions, but assumptions are constantly evolving. They are constantly changing, and we're constantly going to how are we going to be reflecting that into our MYPs. The state, federal, and local resources are subject to updates, and that updates, quote unquote, means that we might get less funding. And just to use as an example, between the last time that I saw you and I saw you now, just an example, that about $200,000 less of one of the resources, federal resources that we get for special ed, and then we get a couple of kids more on that non-public schools, that represents to the district about $500,000. So it's not a little thing. So that's why these updates need to be constantly monitored and constantly looked at, because for a district our size, $500,000 is quite a bit. Now, this is the case that you have heard me say many a time. This is where we do have good reserves, then we can weather in a better manner any of these true-ups, any of these changes. Well, as we look right now, if we were to bring to the board right now with what we know, the assumptions that we know, and the true-ups that we know, I will be bringing to you what a 2% tax revenue increase assumption would look like today. Mind you that we are waiting for the May revised and look into what those changes are going to be. But if we were to do that today, this is how it would look like. You can see that we are looking into 23, 24. Those numbers are soon to be the numbers that will be our unaudited actuals. Those will be the closing numbers, getting there. But then the years that we need to look at is what with 24, 25, 25, 26, and 26, 27, because they are going to become the current year and the 2 out years. You can see that the bottom line in there, we would be meeting with what we know right now, we would be meeting our reserve and have very little money there. But it's in the black. It is in the black. So as we develop the budget, then we will be then introducing any May revised changes, and that will change again. So this is where we would be right now. So there is in this picture, there is no increase yet. And it is assuming a 2% increase. Now, a 2% increase is conservative, and it is very, very good way to look at ourselves. But this year, for example, we got 4.6 increase in P2 over last year. Does that happen all the time? No. There has been times where our increase is 1% or less. But that is going back again to monitoring our assumptions and monitoring where we are. Thus, bringing to the board what is that we know right now and how we look right now. It's a good picture compared with the negative that we had a year ago. So it's a good picture. So that's what I had for the board tonight as a fiscal update. Do you have any questions?
Before we move to questions, I just want to point that this presentation was revised this morning and 2 slides were added at a request of the board member. And that's the new version. Also, you have the new version on your seat and also is on there on the handouts. And it will be uploaded tomorrow.
Thank you so much. And we do have one public comment, so
Okay.
let me read that first. This is Chelsea Mickelson. I write once again to plead with the board to prioritize our teacher salaries over other programs and services. I understand the budget is strained and cuts are necessary, but we must prioritize the retention of our current teaching staff. I'm aware of at least 3 COSI teachers at Hatch are no longer able to work where they live. These are extremely talented, experienced, and vital teachers at our school. If we lose these teachers, we will continue to lose students and families to private and home schools. Losing our teachers keeps me up at night. I'm fearful for next year if this district doesn't change our course. With thanks and concern, Chelsea Mickelson, Hatch and Cunha parent.
Thank you, Jesus. I'll start with a question. So just to confirm the understanding on the slide, let's see, 1, 2, the first slide after the timeline where it says true ups and assumptions, you say the P2 tax report indicates 1,069,000 something less revenue than anticipated. Then you talk about the 3.8 million to 2.7 million. Mm-hmm. That second bullet is included in the first bullet, right? So it's like you're talking about $1.1 million difference. And that's why it's because that supplemental tax, which in this case is that I like to think of as the bonus you get for flipping from state funded to basic aid, was less than we thought. So thought it was going to be 3.8 and it was 2.7. So that's why we, from our last update, got like 1.2 less.
That is correct. That is correct. We were expecting 3.8 million. We got 2.7 million of the supplemental tax. The rest of them stayed fairly solid.
And that's one-time funds, correct?
Those are the
That's the one-time.
one-time funds.
Yep, good point. And thank you for adding that slide, that disclosure, that was me. That I love this colorful slides. It's definitely very helpful to have that always, because I think that anchors us into just having all the information in one place, especially we can see the net result. Like when you talked about reserves earlier, you were talking about state mandated reserves, which is the 3% REU gray line down there at the second to bottom. The other unassigned being other reserves that we have, everything rainy day, basically, when you have an extra 1 or 2 kids that need to be assigned to a non-public school service, that comes from that. Or if a cost estimate was different, it comes from that unassigned, which I know some school districts, and that would definitely encourage us to consider redistributing that unassigned funding from unassigned, which sounds like, oh, it's like money you can play around with, to like really things that you think we might need in the future. So something to think about. I know that's a practice a lot of other districts in the county and beyond have. But otherwise, that's why it's really helpful to see like how that number goes from 2 million to 1.6, 1.3, and to 811,000 something, because you continue to deficit spend. So I appreciate all the work you guys are continuing to do to try to maximize the money coming in, be it through grants or be it through looking at parcel tax replacements, which is like the nice kind of money that we like to have, because that's like flexible and we can use it for whatever we want, but also being mindful of costs as well, and making sure that we do. Sometimes you have to spend money to save money. So I think those a couple good examples that we had earlier about if you have a program that's reducing chronic absenteeism, that's a savings in different ways. So it's kind of like the net benefit to students, and our sustainability are important. Sometimes it's hard to calculate in exact terms, but I appreciate the teamwork that you guys have together to at least kind of directionally figure out what we need to do. So thank you.
Thank you, Jesus.
Yes.
I just want to say, Rosie did point out the slide that was added there. It was at board request. That is a new development. Dr. Contreras, I thank you for always updating us in this way. I do think the board has a value of having this kind of presentation regularly because of the nature of the roller coaster that this district always has funding-wise, as a flipper district, basic aid, LCAP, et cetera, et cetera. I will say that 2% assumption could be changed, may be changed, bears more looking at. I think these updates will continue after Dr. Contreras and I are gone. I would hope so. I think the board has requested it, the county has requested it. And I guess the last thing I want to say is just on a processual question. It is the case for the Brown Act that we are aiming to provide materials to the public at the same time as we provided them to the board, which is why Rosie mentioned that this was updated, and we brought that slide tonight. So that everybody, that's a new slide, a newest update. Originally, we'd wanted to include that extra cost for the self-employed insurance group, and it is the case that when legislation happened about the statute of limitations on sexual abuse and molestation, then all of a sudden, all the districts had an extra cost. So whether it's PG&E costs, health costs, insurance costs, I mean, we're looking at our house and trying to keep our house in order and trying to keep the owners of the house sort of informed about the expenses.
That's a good example of two things. That's a good example of another program we can't cut. You can't not have insurance. So it's an unfortunate thing that no one likes to spend money on, but it's better than the alternative.
I will say, though, that for the power, of course, that's the solar installation that we've used bond funds for. And again, presentation hopefully will come in the future about that. But the estimate is we're going to save $300,000 from the general fund because of the 2 new solar installations on the Cunha Event Center at the Hatch parking lot. That said, that $300,000 goes like that when you have these kind of costs that are hard to anticipate.
And just to clarify, because you both were talking about numbers like 2%, something, something, just to clarify, you're talking when you say 2%, when you said a bit about 2%, you just said it too, you're talking about, that's a property tax increase assumption.
Assumption, it's an assumption.
That from this year to next year, our property tax revenues are going to increase by 2%, which means a fairly robust real estate market. Mary Beth, sorry, get busy. When you're reassessing houses for their tax rates, and that's really the only way that property taxes go up in California. Thank you, Prop 13.
Well, and as a basic aid district, of course, that's what you're looking at. And a couple of years ago, we got in trouble because we looked at the assessment tracker and it looked like it was 6.5 and then it came in under 2. So that's why sort of the conservatives in us, and everybody knows I'm a social progressive, but a financial conservative in many regards, is the conservative us is always like wanting to say, what's going to happen and how do you true this up? Because this kind of thing happens and all of a sudden there's $1 million gone. It's unfortunate, but it is the case. And because you don't have a lot of development, you don't have a lot of services. The city of Half Moon Bay is suffering from the same problem currently. San Francisco is suffering from this greatly currently. And again, in 2 weeks' time, I think on the 24th, some board members and some staff will be going to the Capital Advisors budget workshop at the San Mateo County Office of Education. And this is what, when we talk about the May revise, Jesus, you want to say May revised. I changed that slide to say May revise because it's the May revise, but you're using it as an adjective, so I get it. It's the English language learner probably was correct, and I used a different slang term. But anyway, this is constant monitoring. We constantly monitor. We make the best guesses we can, and then we hope they're right. And often these aren't our guesses. They're projections that are handed to us.
Thank you.
I must say that I'm about to retire, and I will never get the prepositions in English, and I will never get some.
You do just fine.
I think sometimes you're more correct than we are.
Exactly. In 2 languages.
Next on the agenda is item 5H, proposal for ongoing construction management services agreement with Veneer Construction Management.
Also want to comment that there's a slide, not a slide, an attachment that we would like to include. Yes, that one.
Yes.
And it's on your seat and available in the back table.
This is some, you have heard and you have seen all of the construction that we are about to start at El Granada and the one that is going on at Fairlawn View. The Veneer is our partner that is helping us with the construction management. And they are the ones that are part of the district, so to speak, to help us coordinate with all of their expertise about construction, coordinate between the design, the architectural design, the construction companies, and what the contracts that we have had with them is we pay them as we need them. So you will see that I gave you something that looks like that. This is the schedule that we're looking at. You see that the contract that I'm putting forward of support from Veneer is one that looks all the way to this to the end of the projects. And you have also seen in there that we have staff that comes to us from Veneer to help us with all of the construction management. A very nuanced process, a lot of processes that go on all the time. And that is what I'm bringing forward to you. I'm bringing forward to you a contract that will put us in a position to purchase services and expertise as needed. That's all they do. veneer desk, construction management, and buildings out there. And I had brought to you, we started with a few months, we continued with 6 months, we continued with 6 months, and I'm bringing to you something that has been very, very successful for us. It's keeping track of all of our bond projects. That is what is in front of you for not to exceed 1.7 million, but at the same time, all the different people and the resources that we use from veneer.
I just want to add, if I can, Roger and his other veneer colleague, Lisa, I got that right. They're both here, and veneer have been fantastic partners, have experience, expertise, know-how, can-do attitude, and have been able to really, Roger, I can't tell you the amount of work that Roger has had to do for that coastal development permit, which we've talked about in the past. Only 77 out of 1,000 school districts in the state of California have to go through the coastal development permit. Roger and his colleagues have been instrumental to this, working with our architects, Quattrochi, Kwok and Associates, with people like Brianna LaFontaine and Doug Machado to sort of like go through the Scylla and Carbitis to wend this path. This is a cost of doing business. It is paid for by the bond. It is budgeted in the bond. Of course, staff recommend approval of this because they're the right stuff with the know-how.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. I do have one question because on the, there was an associated list of projects and timeline there. And it did have the, I call it the waterfall chart, but it included the kitchen project. And based on on today's date, it appeared that DSA approval was already underway. Is that the case?
The way that works, DSA, the architects put forward the projects, what they're going to be doing, and then they take them and consult with DSA.
But why? So I'm just curious. I thought that we would approve the notional design before that type of work started, the actual DSA work.
What you would be approving, it is something that is buildable, and that buildable would have been something that would have already been checked by DSA. DSA says that we can build this. Now let us bring it to you.
So we already started paying for those services before.
That's part of the design.
And Division of State Architect costs are nominal.
So, but that's part of the design process.
Part of the first thing we approved already.
Okay, so you're saying it was accounted for, that work was accounted for, because again, in my mind, and maybe this sounds naive, but in my mind, I thought we were approving the design work for the architects, and that before you would go for actual state approval or vetting, you would have your notional designs first, and then you would get it reviewed.
The architects would have worked with the teams in here, what is and Roger and everybody said, what is it that the design is going to be?
Oh, that I totally
Then
get. I totally expected for veneer to be supporting the notional design and getting all those plans in place. What I'm just saying, I didn't expect DSA engagement until you, again, I come from a world of a different review cycle before you push on to a formal engagement with, anyways.
So what I'm hearing is a little bit of a disconnect. I think what I'm hearing is it wasn't a request for approval, it was a consultation.
So what?
With DSA.
What the DSA is,
And
what the
I'm seeing a nod.
design team says, okay, I got this design. Now you take it, which is part of what you approved before in the design, that you take it to DSA, and DSA, oh, by the way, you need to do something else. So if you want this to pass anything, you are going to have to do these other things.
Right.
Case in point, case in point.
And the one piece that I want to lift up, because I think it's something that we kind of got into trouble with El Granada, and this is prior to Veneer's engagement and before you guys even arrived, because we were looking at, it was almost like, it's a yes and, you have to do both. You have to work with local ordinances, and you have to, for schools, you have to do DSA. And what happened in El Granada was that we got DSA approval before we verified the coastal development requirements and local control plans. So that was something that the architects weren't fully engaged with. And so that was the pain point that kind of drew out that whole review process.
Two different instances in there.
Yeah.
In that case, different jurisdictions, totally different jurisdictions, and DSA is the authority for the building itself. So DSA says that's buildable. That is buildable. Now the CDP says that's buildable, but these other things need to be, that's more local, that's county. That's our county part of it. So in this case, for the kitchen, the design team, the architects are bringing something that is doable, that it is DSA approvable, and that is what you paid for it.
I'll just say about the local ordinance, just so I'm bringing this up, and I think that El Granada is kind of an anomaly. As I said, only 77 out of 1,000 districts have to deal with coastal development permit, and we had an exemption from coastal development permit on Farallon View, but not in El Granada. So that was a local ordinance that has to be followed. That is the case because we're this close to the coast and there's coastal development permit. However, most districts, like I said, 923 districts out of 1,000, whatever, don't have to do that. They just go straight to DSA. And again, DSA is nominal charge, and you kind of vet it and say, hey, is this working? And they say, well, this review, before we would bring it to the board, because we want to bring it to you fully baked. On another level, what I would say too is that the El Granada was stymied also because that work has not been done for so long, and because there was community concern about a parking lot, a trash enclosure, and lights. I think this team did learn from that process and did go back to the community. And when we went to the coastal development permit hearing two weeks ago, we were hailed by that commission at the county as doing the most inclusive process of going above and beyond because of members of the community who kind of wanted us to do that. I laud Roger and Jesus and Lyanne Schuster and all the folks that showed up, again, Brianna and Doug, for support of that. And sometimes these things are not clean cut, and I wouldn't say we stubbed our toe, I would say the toe stubbed us.
So, thank you. And the reason, so for the DSA piece of it, I just want to be clear that when it comes back to the board and whatever the review process, it sounds like that's like a minimal impact to change, and as long as we don't get too locked in on schedule, in the event that that design, and again, we haven't seen the details of it, if that needed to be tweaked anyway, it could go back to DSA, that we're not like committing ourselves.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's the point I wanted to make.
Absolutely. Whenever you have a design change, you can go back to DSA and change those plans, and of course, the board is the one, and we answered this question when it was asked of us earlier in email, and shared that with the board. Of course, the board authorizes this, and we serve at the pleasure of the board, and you don't build something unless you approve it. You're the owners. The other thing I guess that's important to say here is we are going to introduce in future months, because the legal team has asked us to do it, a resolution whereby we can establish that DSA is our jurisdiction, and we won't get caught up in local ordinance. That said, we will always be caught up in local ordinance because of the coastal development permit process. So it's a chicken and egg, but we will have to bring a resolution. It will be something that is recommended as a best practice to.
We want to be good neighbors too.
Well, we absolutely want to be good neighbors, but the coastal development permit process is what is your jurisdiction to be good neighbors. And I believe we have been good neighbors. And I appreciate you as an El Granada neighbor for making sure we are and working with your community to do so, both as a board member level and as a neighbor level. But I think we've worked and stood on our heads and bent over backwards, and I thank the team for doing it.
So going back to what you were just mentioning, Kim, by that time, we are fine-tuning. We have an approvable project, but we would be fine-tuning.
Thank you. Again, it was me looking at all of the things that we had under the veneer proposal right now and all of the projects. So I just wanted to make sure that I understood what was getting paid for where. So thank you. I have no other questions.
And just for the record, again, I want to remind people that the modernization of the central kitchen and the CTE sports medicine concepts, which was being discussed sort of in concept here as one of the things that was listed on the spreadsheet or whatever, the task sheet, that was pulled. And I expect that our new superintendent and Half Moon Bay High School staff can look about fleshing that out and working with our food service program to talk about the pros and cons of having a scratch cooking concept. And I think the new superintendent can help lead that work.
So I just want to say, Kama, I think this is a great proposal. Like we need this kind of level of expertise with the number and complexity and scope of projects that we're working on. And it's like, I'm looking at the hours and it's like 3+ something head count full time. So that's, of people who have been doing this for years and years and years. So I think that's really an important investment that we make in utilizing, over the scheme of our bond expenses. This is like as close as we'll get to having in-house expert people managing a lot of money and a lot of work. And like somebody made the comment earlier about like accelerating the Farallon View project so that would like fit on time, like having people there. It's like, that's how it happens. Roger makes it happen because he knows how. So, and then you can juggle also because we're going to have Farallon View, what's happening in El Granada, and meanwhile, all these other ancillary projects at the fields and the whatever, sinkholes, like to be able to manage all those things effectively and within the context of each other and to maximize the bond, the value that we get out of those bond dollars, I think this again is an investment to make, to maximize the tens of millions of dollars that we're spending on what I think of as like once in a lifetime revamping our facilities district-wide. So
I will say too that the dependability and the expertise of Veneer, Roger, Lisa, their colleagues in this regard are crucial because the quality control is important because on this very campus, as you know, you've had jobs that required a lot of extra money and litigation because there wasn't accountability and control.
I think it could help us avoid situations like that where you're just kind of monitoring things very, very carefully so things don't go wrong and we don't end up having to remediate. That's good.
Any other questions? It's an action item.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes 4+1.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Roger and Jesus. Next on the agenda is item 5I, approval of superintendent contracts.
President Hines, do you want to discuss this?
Certainly, I can. I didn't know if we had Bianca here. The item before us is to ratify the contract for Superintendent Amber Lealva. Amber, you want to stand up so we can, so people on camera can check you out too? No. This is a motion. Yes. I'm just giving the presentation. I spoke to it during our public comments, my opening remarks earlier, that we've spent the last couple of months in search of a superintendent, and we actually had a number of wonderful candidates apply, and this was the cream that rose to the top. And so I recommend and move that we ratify the contract for Superintendent Amber Lialba. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Questions and comments? Because we want to bring her up and say hello.
No questions or comments other than I'm thrilled, like we said earlier, Sean will leave big shoes, but I think you have big feet, so I think we'll be in good shape. I mean, cute shoes, but big feet, proverbially speaking, to take over the reins and the baton and whatever other metaphors I can throw in there for Dr. McFetridge. I wasn't sure what your timing of transition was exactly. I know the contract goes to June 3rd, so that's why I didn't personally make a big deal, as I know embarrasses Sean anyway to gush about him in public. Hopefully we could have a time to do that in the future, if not at a board meeting, then in private, I guess, to just celebrate you and all you have done, because it's kind of been a fast month. Amber could probably attest to that more than anyone in terms of like things moved really quickly. So I just want to make sure just to stay out there that like I was not prepared to fully appreciate you as we are fully appreciating you and bringing you on board. It's going to be like a lot of celebrating and a lot of honoring and appreciation for both of you during this process. And I know, like I said, you guys will talk and figure out like the details and all that. But yeah, I'm excited to have you join us.
And I was Sophia. The train was running so fast, and in terms of all of the communications, I own anything that didn't get communicated as eloquently as it should have been. But I look forward to. Well, we do need to take a vote. Let's not jinx this. Sure, yes.
Yes. President Hines and board members and community, I just want to, first of all, and staff, thank you so much for the warm welcome. I had an amazing opportunity last week to meet staff and parents and community members, and it was just, everyone was just so gracious and welcoming, and everyone, Sean, just raves about you. And I think the words that were used were beloved, and that, yes, I have big shoes to fill. And, just in really doing my research and trying to figure out, where this new place I was going to call my home, my family. I'm just very impressed with the work that you've done here and the legacy that you and the staff and the community have provided me with. And I'm just so excited to continue the great work that you all of you have started and take it to the next level. And so I'm very excited to be becoming part of the Cabrillo family.
Thank you.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, please say no. Passes 4+1.
Woo.
Congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
congratulations to Cabrillo Unified School District and the Coastside community.
And this brings us to item 6, end of school year ceremonies. We have Fairlawn View Elementary School promotion on June 5th, El Granada Elementary on June 5th, Cunha on June 5th, Hatch on June 6th, Kings Mountain on June 6th, Half Moon Bay High School on June 6th, Pilarcitos High School and La Costa Adult School graduation on June 7th, and Los Listos Preschool, June 25th. Future events, we have May 15, DLAC meeting, May 23rd, Fairlawn View Elementary Open House, May 27, Memorial Day holiday, all sites will be closed. June 6th is our last day of school, and June 13th is our next regular board meeting here in Cunha Intermediate School. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, like the fastest meeting ever.
Do you have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes 4+1.